tensions between the United States and North Korea have reached a boiling point. On Tuesday, President Trump threatened to use fire and fury against North Korea. The Hermit Kingdom responded by threatening to strike Guam. In an interview with NBC's Tim Russert in 1999, then businessman Donald Trump voiced his support for a preemptive military strike against North Korea. The businessman told Russert on Meet the Press if he was president, a Trump administration would negotiate like crazy to get the best deal possible. If a deal was not possible, Trump said he would order a preemptive strike. Tim Russert interviewing at Real Donald Trump in 1999 about launching a preemptive strike against North Korea. Pic.twitter.com web link, Josh Kaplan, @JoshKaplan, August 8, 2017. Tim Russert, 1 is North Korea. And you say that you, as president, would be willing to launch a preemptive strike against North Korea's nuclear capability. Donald Trump, first, I'd negotiate. I would negotiate like crazy. And I'd make sure that we tried to get the best deal possible. Look, Tim, if a man walks up to you on a street in Washington, because this doesn't happen, of course, in New York. But if a man walks up and puts a gun to your head and says, "Give me your money," wouldn't you rather know where he's coming from before he had the gun in his hand? And these people in 3 or 4 years are going to be having nuclear weapons. They're going to have those weapons pointed all over the world and specifically at the United States. And wouldn't you be better off solving this really potentially unbelievable and the biggest problem? I mean, we can talk about the economy, we can talk about social security. The biggest problem this world has is nuclear proliferation. And we have a country out there, North Korea, which is sort of wacko, which is not a bunch of dummies. And they are going out and they are developing nuclear weapons. And they're not doing it because they're having fun doing it. They're doing it for a reason. And wouldn't it be good to sit down and really negotiate something, and ideally negotiate? Now, if that negotiation doesn't work, you'd better solve the problem now than solve it later, Tim. And you know it, and every politician knows it, and nobody wants to talk about it. Jimmy Carter, who I really like, he went over there. It was so soft. These people are laughing at us. Tim Russert, the former general of the Air Force, Merrill McPeak, the former Secretary of Defense, Leigh Aspen, said you could not launch a preemptive strike against North Korea because the nuclear fallout could be devastating to the Asian peninsula. Donald Trump, I'm not talking about us using nuclear weapons. I'm saying that they have areas where they're developing missiles. Tim Russert, no, but taking out their nuclear potential. Donald Trump, do you know that this country, Tim Russert, would create a fallout? Donald Trump, Tim, do you know that this country went out and gave them nuclear reactors, free fuel for 10 years? We virtually tried to bribe them into stopping, and they're continuing to do what they're doing, and they're laughing at us. They think we're a bunch of dummies. I'm saying that we have to do something to stop. Ideally. Tim Russert, but if the military told you, Mr. Trump, we can't do this. Donald Trump, you give me 2 names, you're giving me 2 names. I don't know. Do you want to do it in 5 years when they have warheads all over the place, every one of them pointing to New York City, to Washington, and every one of ours? Is that when you want to do it? Or do you want to do something now? On Tuesday, President Trump warned North Korea that the U.S. will meet them with fire and fury if they continue to threaten the United States. The president made this statement after it was revealed that North Korea successfully created a miniaturized nuclear weapon designed to fit inside its missiles. North Korea has made calculated gains in recent memory in regards to their nuclear ambitions, with the recent estimate of their nuclear warheads sitting at 60. Which is significantly more than was last thought, as the Gateway pundit previously reported. The intelligence community assesses North Korea has produced nuclear weapons for ballistic missile delivery, to include delivery by ICBM-class missiles, the assessment states, in an excerpt read to the Washington Post. The assessment's broad conclusions were verified by 2 U.S. officials familiar with the document. It is not yet known whether the reclusive regime has successfully tested the smaller design, although North Korea officially last year claimed to have done so. North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States, the president commented to reporters in Bedminster, New Jersey during an event. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. President Trump's comments come after the state-sanctioned Korean Central News Agency stated, "Packs of wolves are coming in attack to strangle a nation. They should be mindful that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's strategic steps accompanied by physical action will be taken mercilessly with the mobilization of all its national strength." Watch the president speak to reporters below. POTUS warns North Korea that it will be met with fire, fury like the world has never seen before. pic.twitter.com web link, Josh Kaplan, @JoshKaplan, August 8, 2017. Following President Trump's warning North Korea over further provocations, the Hermit Kingdom has announced it is considering striking Guam. The North Korean military warned it may carry out a preemptive operation once the U.S. shows signs of provocation, and that it is seriously considering a strategy to strike Guam with mid- to long-range missiles. Below is a statement issued by the North Korean military. A spokesman for the Strategic Force of the Korean People's Army, KPA, released the following statement on August 8. Recently, the U.S. test-fired ICBM Minuteman III at its Vandenberg Air Force Base in California state targeting the DPRK, the fourth one this year, openly staged an actual nuclear strike drill targeting the strategic objects of the DPRK by mobilizing its nuclear strategic bombers formation stationed at its Andersen Air Force Base on Guam in the Pacific. It is driving the regional situation to an extreme pitch by bringing various kinds of nuclear strategic hardware before the very eyes of the DPRK. The strategic force of the KPA has taken special note of such maneuvers. Such military maneuvers of the U.S. may provoke a dangerous conflict under the present extremely acute situation prevailing on the Korean peninsula. Typically, the nuclear strategic bombers from Guam frequent the sky above South Korea to openly stage actual war drills and muscle flexing in a bid to strike the strategic bases of the DPRK. This grave situation requires the KPA to closely watch Guam, the outpost and beachhead for invading the DPRK, and necessarily take practical actions of significance to neutralize it. In the morning of August 8 the air pirates of Guam again appeared in the sky above South Korea to stage a madcap drill simulating an actual war. Supreme Commander of the Revolutionary Forces of the DPRK Kim Jong-un, estimating the nature of the military action taken by the U.S. forces in the Asia-Pacific region, once recommended examination of a powerful and effective action plan for containing the U.S. imperialists' aggression hardware as the U.S. forces are resorting to inappropriate and reckless military actions in the sensitive area, while going on the rampage in the waters off the Korean peninsula and the Pacific waters. The KPA strategic force is now carefully examining the operational plan for making an enveloping fire at the areas around Guam with medium to long-range strategic ballistic rocket Hwasong-12 in order to contain the U.S. major military bases on Guam including the Andersen Air Force Base in which the U.S. strategic bombers, which get on the nerves of the DPRK and threaten and blackmail it through their frequent visits to the sky above South Korea, are stationed and to send a serious warning signal to the U.S. it should immediately stop its reckless military provocation against the state of the DPRK so that the latter would not be forced to make an unavoidable military choice. The plan is to be soon reported to the Supreme Command soon after going through full examination and completion and will be put into practice in a multi-concurrent and consecutive way any moment once Kim Jong-un, Supreme Commander of the nuclear force of the DPRK, makes a decision. The execution of this plan will offer an occasion for the Yankees to be the first to experience the might of the strategic weapons of the DPRK closest. Explicitly speaking again, the strategic weapons which the DPRK manufactured at the cost of blood and sweat, risking everything, are not a bargaining thing for getting acknowledgement from others and for bartering for anything, but they serve as substantial military means for resolutely countering the U.S. political and economic pressure and military threat as what has been observed now. Will only the U.S. have option called preventive war as is claimed by it? It is a daydream for the U.S. to think that its mainland is an invulnerable heavenly kingdom. The U.S. should clearly face up to the fact that the ballistic rockets of the strategic force of the KPA are now on constant standby, facing the Pacific Ocean, and pay deep attention to their azimuth angle for launch. It should make a proper option so as not to regret today and the future.